Right then, in today's video we're going to be taking a look at Zinder Motors, a Chinese company that produces lift motors with very questionable quality. The generic lifts I've seen that use these motors have been so bad they've been replaced after not long at all, and the motors are terrible. After not long at all they go bad quickly, and the bearings sound absolutely horrible. How could a lift motor have bearings so cheap? It is scary how cheap these lift motors are. And if we take a look at our website and the products they produce, notice that these motors look like actual lift motors from actual manufacturers. Now, it's quite well known that Chinese companies often copy other companies' products and make cheap knockoff versions. I never expected that to apply to lift motors. Zinder are actually making copycat, cheap, low quality knockoffs of actual lift motors, which is very questionable because these Chinese companies rely on actual proper companies doing their own research and development to produce actual products. When these Chinese companies come along and make knockoffs of those products because they are not doing their own research and development, they're leeching off other companies having done it, and they're pretty much stealing the intellectual property of their products to do this. So it is very questionable. But if we take a look at Zinder's motors, let's go through the different motors they're blatantly copying here. Because if you're a regular viewer to my channel, you might recognise what these are actually copying. So let's take a look. So let's take a look at this. No guesses what they're trying to copy here. It's kind of a bit like an eco-disc copy, but not quite. It also looks slightly sort of Zola Beg. It's a bit of a weird one, this. So if we now take a look at our geared traction motors, no guesses to what they're copying here. If you've watched any of my Tower Block archive videos, you can pretty much see what they're trying to copy. Typical sort of geared sort of Tower Block motor sort of things. Some of those look a bit express-like. Is this weird, seeing a Chinese company making knockoff versions of these? And then you've got this, the Zinder high-speed motor. This looks very slightly like a Kone MX-32, but not quite. It also looks slightly a bit like a lift-equipped generic gearless motor. Imagine having a skyscraper and rather than going and installing a proper lift, you go for a generic. Especially when you've got companies like Sensors, which regularly use Zinder motors, claiming they produce lifts up to 8 meters a second. And if you know how cheap IMEM is, they are so cheap. They make the regular sort of English net lifts look high quality by comparison. Imagine having an Sensors with Zinder motors in a skyscraper going 8 meters a second. That is horrifying to even think of. Now, talking about copycats of other lift motors, the Zinder motors that look most similar like another motor are their copycats of Zola Beg motors. But a weird thing is, Zola Beg are themselves copycats of major lift companies' motors, meaning that Zinder are making copycats of copycats. And then you've got this Zinder motor, which also looks pretty similar to this Zola Beg motor. I do find it strange because these Zola Begs are generic stuff, although they're considered to be fairly well built. And they look like this. Then you get Zinder making their version, which also looks quite similar to that. I don't even know what to say anymore. However, the Zinder motor which you most commonly see is this one, which is a bit different as it doesn't really seem to be a knockoff of an actual motor. Maybe it is and I don't recognise it because this motor doesn't look very sort of typical looking. It's quite a weird looking lift motor. However, some of the very cheap generics, I mean like the real nasty cheap ones, often actually use this motor. And it goes bad very quickly. After not much use at all, the bearings sound so knackered. So let's go along to Bristol and have a look at how their sensor lift is doing in the 17th floor Radisson Hotel. If you're building a posh hotel like Radisson with 17 floors, I just do not understand why the fuck I went for an sensors lift with a Zinder motor. I'm lost for words on that. The passenger lifts have already been replaced with eco discs. However, the service lift is still the IMM. And let's just take a listen to how bad it sounds. We're not even near the top. We're not even near the top floor. Our top floor is going to be so loud. Right, listening. Listen to this. This is going to... Let's go down. That's bad. Listen to some birds. Oh my days. Oh, bloody hell. That's terrible. Oh, that's bad. It's less than 10 years old, isn't it? When does building go up? Oh, that sounds bad.
I'm not surfing this dodgy piece of shit.
I was going to do it.
Hoistway.
The hoistway elevating expectations. With this. How the fuck do I think this is elevating expectations? How?
Unelevating. What's that? Oh, I can feel it through the wall.
Really?
Touch the wall, you can feel the motor.
Oh, it's rattling the whole building.
This lift is so slow. Oh. Do you want to trust this or do you want to go? Whoa, what's the staff floor button?
I want to see how it runs inside.
Have you been in this before?
Not since it's been this bad.
Oh, great, lovely. Oh, fuck. Feel the air literally on your level, you probably can. Oh, look, the bottom's been replaced for 8. Oh,
yeah, it's bad. I want to see what it's like on top. It's bad.
So bad.
This is so bad.
Oh, you can hear it as well. You could surf it. Oh, I'm not surfing this piece of shit. Where do I go?
See how bad this is. Oh, there's that motor. Fuck. That is bad. Yeah, it's that drum type motor. It's bad. That Cinema lift in France was the exact same motor. What the fuck? It just opened its door.
Yeah,
So then, let's now have a reminder of the cinema lifts in a shopping centre in Lyon in France, which also had the same zinder motor, and they also sound very bad. This is the cheapest shopping centre lift so far. This thing sounds terrible. Is there logic in that? Fucking hell. It's got a vac on, spectral control and the fuses. But where's the logic? Probably in mini relays. Now it's time to listen to the spectacularness of this motor. This is not a climbing lift despite how it sounds. I'm going to go back up at that, this is too funny. Oh, terrible living. A cinema lift.
Ascenseur en monte.
Oh. The chassis is off centre for some reason. Slow levelling. Now we go to the next lift, which is also completely knackered. I don't think its door close button's wired. Oh dear. Slightly quicker this one. Maybe I haven't got slowed down because it got so worn out.